Hey everybody, welcome to Kingdom of Honor. I'm your host, XanMan Shane Sabunia, along with my good buddy, the Honorable Jeff.
Hello.
And today we're here to talk about the big thing in pro wrestling this week, NXT Stand and Deliver. Um,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
they've jumped on the two-night show bandwagon along with NJPW and WWE. One thing I do want to say before we get into anything, and it's only because it they're trying to make NXT be their own brand.
Hmm.
Uh, I was a little kind of off-put in the intros when they said WWE presents NXT's Takeover, Stand and Deliver.
I didn't even notice that.
Why not just say NXT presents Takeover, Stand and Deliver?
Well, was it both nights or was it only on the night on night two?
No, it was on both nights.
Okay, I did. Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
And it quick thing just kind of jumped out at me. It was like, okay, why you're trying to make NXT its own thing, but then you do something like that.
Yeah, and I think you discovered in a really rough way that this two-night thing didn't work very well for a lot of people because due to it if they were watching it after the fact because watching night one, which was originally on USA, and not watching it live, you missed a lot of the action that was going on in these matches that were supposed to
The
be a pay-per-view quality show.
the nice thing though is that they did put the complete matches on Peacock.
Oh, they did. Okay.
So I was able to watch the Ciampa match in its entirety, and oh my God, that might be my favorite match this year.
Yeah.
Because you're right that that clothesline spot that was missing took so much out of the match that just having that in there changed the complexity of the entire thing.
Yeah, I noticed watching the show that, there weren't those usual spots where it would, where they would say, stay tuned, we're going to be showing this in picture, or, whatever, however they usually phrase it at NXT. And I was like, and the announcers just kept talking through the whole thing. I was like, I wonder if that means they're going to put the whole thing on Peacock.
Yeah,
So,
and they did.
so
So
that's
it,
cool.
it it was nice that they did that because like I said, that Champa Walter match,
Hmm.
completely different feel when you could see it in its entirety. When you didn't lose that bit to the, and I'm
Right,
kind of
right, because if you were watching, you're like, oh, well, how all of a sudden, how did Walter become vulnerable all of a sudden, right?
yeah, yeah, and you completely miss that section, and
Because if I'm not mistaken, and I'm doing this from memory because I've only watched it the one time, and of course I watched it and picture that one time, and I couldn't have watched it again after that way. But I kind of remember that as they were coming back, Walter was hitting like a running kick to Chomp, and then he gets up and Chomp clotheslines him one time, and he's down. And
right.
and I imagine like coming back from a commercial, like, wait, one clothesline took Walter down? Are you kidding me?
Right, and that's kind of the feeling I was, and it was like it was, you saw afterwards Champa beating him down, but you missed that whole part where he wore him down to get him in that position to begin with.
Right, exactly.
Um, so it was, and the other thing that I noticed about Peacock and the presentation they did is
Hmm.
even that night one, when they did go to commercial breaks, they would say on the USA Network, we're going to a commercial break, and they would pause for a few seconds, and then all of a sudden they would continue their commentary.
Exactly.
So they were doing, you got to hear them still comment on what was going on in the ring, and then you'd have that little segue back where they go, "Oh, welcome back on USA Network." So
Okay. Yeah.
I felt like that was well done. That's one thing that I'm really really happy that they did because it's not what I'm used to.
No, and usually when you're watching NXT on, and I hope they keep doing it this way because usually when you're watching NXT on USA, or you don't watch it you don't watch it live. Next, you come back and that you've missed an entire part of that match,
Right.
and it feels weird and disjointed. And I know we're used to that from live television, but and maybe this is only a one-time thing due to being this special two-night event, but I'm glad that they did do that, especially for that big match because I don't think it's my favorite match of the year, but it definitely was a great match.
It's up there for me. Um, and I had high hopes for it to begin with. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
because
and I did too. I just I think I probably would like it more if Walter had lost.
well, obviously, yeah. Um, Yeah, that would have been a better ending than what we got. But it was I
Because
thought the
it because
match was
didn't he beat
fantastic.
him with like a chop and a clothesline or something, or a chop and a kick or something weird like that?
Pretty much,
That's what
it
I
was
thought.
it was that
It was what?
back to okay, he's worn down enough so I can just pin him easily,
Yeah,
as opposed to you know hitting a stunning finishing move. And
right. And I do like when matches end that way sometimes, just because they shouldn't have to end on a finisher. If you're beaten down enough, maybe something like that should finish you off. But still, losing to a chop is really weird.
well, it
Yeah.
harkens back to old school wrestling where nobody had those flashy finishers. Like Hogan's was a leg drop.
Hmm.
Savage was a diving elbow. So and those type of moves, those are the ones that they're called a finisher because you finally beaten your opponent down enough that you can hit your finisher to put them away.
Right. And as we've covered on our other shows, my favorite match of um, 2011 ends with a running kick to the head.
Yeah,
When Eddie Edwards loses to Davey Richards.
right.
You know, so
Yeah, I mean, and the some of the other notable things, Jordan Devlin is just I get why they put the belt on Escobar, but Devlin is so talented.
God, I that match, I had such high expectations for, mostly because of Jordan Devlin, and for him to be playing, this, babyface in peril the entire match, um,
When he's a natural heel.
when he's a natural heel, and when the other guy he's wrestling is so fucking boring. It just, I mean, maybe you don't feel the same way I do, Jeff, but Escobar bores the living shit out of me.
Yeah,
And
he's just a
and
generic luchador to me. And
and and for him to, he's like all arrogant and cocky, and he's in a ladder match, and he's doing nothing, and that ladder match was to me a complete dud.
it was. I had a lot higher expectations, but I felt like Jordan Devlin went all out on that and was just he's
Yeah,
the only
for the
reason
five
that.
for the 5 minutes he got to do something in it.
Yeah, but he's the honest. Otherwise, that match should not have ever taken place. And
No,
you're right. I mean, when you've got Escobar claiming, the lucha libre style and how the cruiserweight, um, his
yeah, he's arrogant.
the old WCW days.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or I'm sorry, January 2020, and then COVID hit. You know,
Right. I haven't watched the UK, but I don't know. Has he been defending it in the UK brand?
he did. I mean, he was
Okay.
out. Because UK was shut.
Humberto.
Are they calling him Dominic Mysterio?
Yep.
Okay, I did. I had no idea.
Yeah, and Andrade. They just misused him,
Right. No, I
and
wasn't
then
saying they didn't happen.
ultimately lost him.
Yeah.
But
That's what I'm saying.
you know,
That's
one other better served pre-match.
that's fair. Uh, it's funny because in that match, like I was like, who's gonna win,
I was so happy when he
and it
didn't.
wasn't.
Although I still don't know that Bronson Reed was the right choice.
Well, he beat LA Knight already one time on NXT, and I thought he and Gargano had a fantastic match.
Yeah, they
You know.
did. They did. And his interactions with Swerve too
Hmm.
on the to end that gauntlet match was really well done too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I was not really looking forward to the Gauntlet match at all, and it was, so it was definitely better than I expected it to be. And then Gargano versus Breed was definitely a lot better than Gargano versus Loomis would have been.
Right.
But I still don't know that I agree with what they said at the beginning of night two, which is what, you know, this on paper is the greatest takeover ever. No, you had a women's tag title match on there. No, you had Santos Escobar on there. Those two things automatically mean it's not going to be the greatest NXT takeover on paper either, and it turned out not to be the greatest NXT takeover. You know,
Well, that's just what they do. They do that for every takeover. But you're right. I mean, there's so much better takeovers that they've had um, than either one of these two nights. Uh, it, and again, there was kind of filler matches, like the women's tag title match
hmm
was a filler match. There was. That's what I hate about these 3 night shows. Put on a super card in one show, make it the 3 hours, and leave it be. We run into that with NJPW and Wrestle Kingdom. It's a 2 night show now, and it's 4.5 hours each night, but there's a lot of filler matches.
Hmm. Yeah, like for instance, did Kushida and Dunn really need to be in a takeover match?
No,
Did the women's tag title match really need to be a takeover match?
it was a great match though.
Did
I mean,
did
the Dunn versus Kushida,
right? It was, and then, but I mean, it could have used months more build up, and maybe it could have been on another takeover, you know,
or yeah, I mean, it was a TV match, is
and
what it was.
the gauntlet match really didn't need to be on takeover either,
No,
and that ladder match left a lot to be desired, so
yeah,
I
and there were certain things that just they could have easily, like you said, the gauntlet match was just 45 minutes of filler so that they could have something and make it a 2 night show.
was it really 45 minutes long?
I don't know, it felt like it.
Okay.
I mean, Grimes. Every time I see you know Cameron Grimes in the ring, and you go all the way back to his
Technical Savage days.
yeah, I mean his Trevor Lee days and Impact, and I kind of wish, because remember towards the end of his run in Impact, he was almost a lackey for Eli Drake.
Yes.
It'd be kind of cool to play off of that a little bit. Even though they're different characters, well, LA Knight's the same character, but Cameron Grimes is a completely different character than Trevor Lee was. But it would still be kind of cool to watch, to have them play off of that a little bit.
I would say that's unlikely. I mean, I wouldn't say it's impossible. There, I would have said like 5 years ago, but it's unlikely. You know?
Right. Yeah, I don't think it, because Trevor or Cameron Grimes' character is so much different than what it was then.
Right.
I do kind of enjoy his Ted DiBiase gimmick. It is fun.
It's funny because he also like curses out Ted DiBiase. He's like, "God damn $1 million," or he's like, "Damn
Yeah,
you $1 million man,"
yeah, because $1 Million Man did it better,
Right.
and people like to point that out to him, so he curses it. But it's he's trying to do that $1 Million Man character. Yeah, I love it. Though a couple weeks back, the basketball spot that he tried to do was fantastic, and he kept losing the money because he kept forgetting to kick the ball out.
Right.
It's just
I,
brilliant.
I and he paid Swerve,
Swerve.
to help him in the match, and then Swerve ended up just turning on him, and then
Yeah.
also like that money like when it went flying in the around the ring at one point.
I think Wade Barrett had a great line during that when Swerve turned on him. He's like, the price just went up.
Yeah,
I enjoy Wade Barrett on commentary. He's fun. He's really good. He's that good heel color commentator guy.
he is, and actually, and Beth Phoenix has improved leaps and bounds over the last year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I just wish they
Well,
had somebody.
since
Go ahead.
Morrow's not there, she's improved
I
because
just I
she's
just
not trying to outscream Morrow anymore.
I just wish there was somebody better between them. There was
Oh,
somebody
he is.
better holding it because like I've said before, Vic Joseph at times is really good, and he's normal, and he's a good announcer. And then at other times he just like stops being
Forgets how to.
human.
He forgets the English language.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, he forgets like sentence structure and how words work.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he was off on a couple of matches where he said things that I just went, wait, what?
Yeah, and and when he got mad at Beth a couple of times, that was fun too, and mad at Wade, that was fun too. But there were like I told you like last night we were talking a little bit like just very briefly about because we wanted to save it for the show, but about the main event of Takeover in general, like, the main event of night two,
Right, right.
and I felt like there was you said it felt it could have used 20 less minutes to it, and it was only like a 35-minute match or something. So
Uh,
go
it,
ahead.
it, the runtime when you looked at the start from the video package to the end was an hour, over an hour.
Right, but I'm saying the match itself, I think it was only like 35 minutes.
It just
So,
felt like they'd already done everything they could do, and they were just doing more just to do more.
but I felt like it was some comments by Vic himself, and then also just the way the crowd was reacting to the match that made it feel like it was longer than it was.
It's possible.
Like every time, like I like was drawn into the match at the very beginning, and you had mentioned um, like, I don't understand why those guys just stood there, and I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I kind of thought, then I kind of put myself in their mind. I'm like, okay, so neither one of those guys wants to be the first one to make a mistake,
Yeah,
so they're being
the
very cautious to start with, and then then of course they were both like neither one of them was going to move, so they just started flying at each other with fists, and that made perfect sense to me.
see,
Uh,
and for me, one thing I've always hated about wrestling
hmm
is you've got this blood feud, and these guys hate each other, and it's just they want to kill each other to kill the other person, um, and they come out and they do their flashy entrances. The Usos, back when they used to do that war dance, were perfect examples of that. They'd be in this blood feud, and they'd come out and do their stupid war dance and spend 3 minutes before they actually even made it to the ring.
Yeah.
And I did like the fact that they kind of explained that away. Like, why wouldn't O'Reilly run up the ramp? Why wouldn't Adam Cole? Because they were draped in, O'Reilly was draped in security, and they
hmm
brought the security and stood him in the middle of the ring so that Cole could get his complete entrance.
Yep.
But then once the security left, they should have been on each other, especially considering they started with fist flying. To stand there that little bit, looking at to stand there looking at each other when all they were going to do was fist flying, like you said, nobody wanted to make a mistake. They didn't want to make that mistake. So, how about instead of coming running at each other, fist flying, they came, when they ran at each other, maybe Cole ducked down because he's the slimy heel, and O'Reilly tripped.
hmm
It was just the fact that the way that they started when they finally did come together was that vicious fist flying thing, and I just didn't buy it because of the way they stood and stared at each other.
That makes sense. My point was I was drawn in right from that moment when they started hitting each other. And I was drawn into that match, and there was one part I got taken out of it, which was like when Kyle was like looking at the stairs, like, do I really want to drop him on the stairs? And I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah,
And then, but they got me back really quickly after that until the crowd started chanting, "We want tables." And I was thinking exactly the same thing Wade Barrett said. These guys are already beating the shit out of each other, and you guys are telling them, they got to use tables to do it. No,
no,
you, you know, they're gonna do, and I felt exactly the same way when I was live in Chicago for Ciampa versus Gargano too. The crowd started chanting, "We want tables." I'm like, shut the fuck up, you idiots!
these guys are.
And I was in the crowd that night. You know.
Yeah, and it's like these guys are already putting each other through hell. Tables just are not needed, and I felt the same way you did. It just was like when they're chanting that, I'm like, okay, come on.
And then they start chanting "Fight Forever." I'm like, no, these guys are going to kill each other. I'm uncomfortable
Right.
watching this, and you guys are telling them to fight forever.
I I
You know?
I did make a comment as I was watching it that it reminded me a lot of Naito versus Kushida, or I'm sorry, Naito versus Kota, with just the brutality that they were doing to each other.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, to be perfectly honest with you and all the listeners, I mean, there were three things that have to happen in this match for me to be satisfied with it. Okay, number one is Kyle O'Reilly had to be presented like a big deal, and he
Yep.
was,
Yep.
right. Number two, Kyle O'Reilly had to hold his own with Adam Cole, and he did. And number three, it had to be a brutal match, and it was. So I mean, for those, there was nothing that was going to happen in this match, therefore, that was going to make me completely hate it. I didn't love it the way I wanted it to, but I still liked it.
Yeah, and I didn't hate it either, but you're right. I wanted to love it more than I did. Um, not sure on the music choices. I know you said that. Okay, Arlo. You said that Kyle O'Reilly's felt like main event, and it does. It does, but it also feels like a generic riff too. Um, and I don't think.
That's when it first started, I felt like it was a generic riff, and as it kept going, I was like, no, this feels like really strong main event music. This is music that you could easily hear closing out pay-per-views.
Yeah, and maybe some vocals in it would have been better, but that, like you said, when it first started, it sounded like a generic riff.
hmm
And I just didn't get out of that mindset, especially since there was no lyrics.
Right.
I don't like Adam Cole's new music
No,
at all. At none at
his
all.
actually sounds like a ripoff of his old music.
Yeah, it sounds like the shock the system.
No, no, not that. It sounds like it. What was that? Um, the music he used to use in ROH. To me it sounds like a ripoff of his old ROH music.
I guess I don't remember.
And I'm like, well, why didn't you just buy the music?
Yeah, it sounded like they were trying too hard to keep it close to the UE music,
Okay.
but it wasn't as good, I guess. Like even for starters, I mean, they started the UE music, shock the system, and this one they just screamed Cole. Not Adam Cole, baby, or any, just Cole. It's
Right.
like, wait, what? And then the guitar riff, the repetition, things like that, just, and even to the point where he got the classic boom. He even stood up on the apron to do that boom bit.
Yeah, he did.
It was just, it reminded me way too much of a watered down UE music. I personally did not care for it.
And I just looked at the theme. The theme was something for you. And to me, like listening to it, I was like, and maybe it's a combination of the two. Maybe that's why. But when I was listening, I was like, wow, this sounds a lot like something for you. And I'm like, why didn't you just buy something for you then?
Right. Right, exactly. It's not like they don't have the money.
Yeah.
Jesus, they just got $1 billion from Peacock.
Because I remember that being a nice little Easter egg at All In when I went there. Is that Britt Baker, who of course is his girlfriend, or his
Right.
fiance, whatever they are right now, came out to something for you.
Oh, yeah. See, and I wasn't watching Ring of Honor often enough to where I would have remembered that.
Right. I get that. And you had also mentioned to me like last night, like the referee stuff kind of took you out of it. Like, but to me that was just like more like Adam Cole being an asshole. It was just more like reinforcement of the way this guy has elevated his asshole game, where he's going to yell at the referee even when the referee's knocked out, or he's going to tell the referee he's a stupid son of a bitch for we're only having he only had one job when he's the one that knocked the referee out. you know it's
Yeah,
just it and as far as the referee the being knocked out being the one that made the count, well, that's because like Wade Barrett said after that happened, he's like, I don't see any other referee being itching to come out
willing to
here
do
to
this.
get involved in this. You know,
But it was just, the guy got knocked out, and then y- what? 3 minutes later, he's up acting like nothing had happened. Not groggy, not selling being knocked out, just nothing. He just, and every other time we see a ref bump, they don't finish the match.
well, I wouldn't say
Uh,
not every time.
well, a lot of times,
Okay.
especially when they get knocked out, they usually don't finish the match.
Yeah,
It
but to be
just,
fair, it was one punch. It wasn't like he was hit with a chair or hit with a sledgehammer. It was a punch to the
fair enough,
face. You
fair
know.
enough. It was, to have him back up like just a few minutes later, acting like nothing happened, is what
Hmm.
threw me.
Yeah, that's fair. I also saw like somebody complaining about the near falls in this match. I'm like, but this match had the real kind of near falls. It didn't have finisher kickouts in it at all. It was like these guys were countering each other's moves, or they were dodging each other's moves. The only one that I would consider to be suspect would be the one where Cole hit the brainbuster on the stairs, which is the same move he used to knock Kyle out of action for weeks. And then Kyle got his shoulder up, but he didn't kick out of it. He just barely lifted his shoulder. You know, I don't know.
The
I
the other thing,
to me, like people complaining about near falls in this match are people that are like really into like let's have let's have three finishers for each guy.
right? The one in that sitting chair spot. I mean, we've seen that before. It fit well um, for these characters and the match that they were doing. That they would get to that point where it's just like, fuck it, we're just gonna have our standoff.
Hmm.
So they, set up the chairs and they punch each other. But Vic screaming like it was the greatest thing he'd ever saw was just one of those, like, that was another one of those, because you'd mentioned that Vic was really off during that match, and
Hmm.
that was one of those proof moments. Like, why are you screaming like this is the greatest thing you've ever seen, um, when we've seen it multiple times before?
Right. Right. I don't
And
know.
the
I mean, sometimes I feel like they treat NXT like it's intro to like young people watching wrestling when really I think a lot of the fans from NXT are guys that have just been are just guys like me and you that are jaded by the WWE product. We're looking for young talent that's actually going to get pushed.
Well, and some of these the people that are on here are people that we've been watching on the indies and in other promotions that weren't getting their due that are now getting, big time pushes like the entire Undisputed Era. I mean, we've been
Right.
watching those guys for years, and then you get a guy like, Cameron Grimes. I loved him as Trevor Lee. A lot of these characters are people that I really, really enjoyed somewhere else.
Hmm.
So I'm watching them for that too.
Right.
One other thing too about this was when they introduced that chain, and they had spots with the chain, and it was like they made this chain into almost like a lasso of fire, where anytime somebody got touched by it, it was horrible. But they never actually used the chain as a weapon. They just put it in between each other. So I've got a leg lock on you, um, but it hurts more now because there's a chain between,
Yeah,
my leg.
that I didn't get.
That
But
was another.
but the spot where Kyle went running to the ropes, hit Adam with a clothesline, and Kyle just jerked it up like it was like a
Yep.
like a tightrope or something,
Yeah, that was
or
good. That
like a wire across the road, for a trap. That was awesome.
that was a that was a good use of the chain and what they should have been doing with it the whole time. But it was, I can't remember what it was, but there was a spot where, I think it was Kyle went to put on a submission move, and the only thing he did was put that chain between him and Adam Cole before he put the submission move, and they were selling it like it was the most painful thing they've ever done in their lives.
Right.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he wrapped his arm in it. It wasn't like he, beat him with it 15 times, then wrapped his arm in it and then put it on. It was not even, it was just a chain.
The 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 thing with the toolbox was weird too. Like you got a tire iron in there, which I don't know what that the tire iron in a toolbox, but and then there was a hammer, and then Cole grabs pliers, and he looks at it like it's the most evil thing on the planet, and he tries to stab Kyle in the face with pliers. I'm like, what?
Right. Yeah.
That was weird. That was really a weird. I mean, there were definitely weird spots in this match that took that took you out of it. Like, why wouldn't you grab the hammer? Like, and what were you gonna? I mean, were you have you been like has Britt been teaching you like how to pull teeth? And that's what you're gonna do with the players? I didn't understand what he was doing with them.
Yeah.
So
There's yeah, there were, I mean, I get it. They were trying to do something nobody else has done. They were trying to do something different. And it gets to a point like, I mean, forever the thumbtacks in the bag, and then, Jimmy Havoc brings out Legos.
hmm
Just to make it a little bit different, doing different stuff like that is fun. But when it's doing something different just to be different is where there tends to be issues.
right. And speaking of the chain, I did really enjoy the end with the chain where it was like the low blow, and then Cole falls onto those chairs that he had set up, the legs sticking up, and then Kyle hits it. Kyle wraps the chain around his leg and hits his finishing flying knee, on Kyle on the back of Cole's head through the chairs, was just, that looked really brutal.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, I really, I mean, and like after watching this match, like I really feel like that this match did elevate Kyle the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, it
So
did a good job. I mean, he was already a main eventer though. He had that series with Finn Balor, so he didn't need that push. But it was just with
he did, but
Adam
he lost both those matches in very convincing ways.
and Adam Cole has always been seen as the main eventer of the group. So it was nice to have uh, Kyle come in and do what he did to kind of put himself in that light too.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
Now, thank God MSK was able to win that match because I don't think I could have handled it had the other guys. El Phantasma or whatever the hell they are.
Legado del Fantasma. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
would have been fine with
GYV.
GYV winning them. Yeah.
That was another good line by Wade. They invited me part of the GYV.
Did they really?
That's what he said. They had a
Oh,
big
I missed that.
conversation,
That's
and
funny.
Vic shoots back to him. He's like, "Yeah, but there's one problem. It's the why." That was one of the rare moments where I've been like, all right, Vic, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was a fun triple threat tag. No
The
question. And like you said, the right team won. I mean, they're the ones that won the Dusty Cup, and they were ones that were supposed to get the tag title shot anyways. So them winning it, made a lot of sense. And I not I think it's kind of weird though that their first challengers are going to be Drake and whatever that Australian guy's name is, but
Killian
whatever.
Dane.
Killian Dale, Killian Dane, yeah.
Um, Another thing that Wade did, and I can't remember which match it was. I think it might have been the ladder match, but he kept talking about in his 14 years in the WWE. And I'm sitting there thinking, dude, you debuted in 2010 as part of the Nexus
Hmm.
because you were on that show that was awful. The NX or well NXT when it was like a
Reality show,
little game reality show. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, and he's sitting there, my 14 years in the WWE, and I'm like, dude, you've only been in the WWE 11, and you were gone for 2 years, 3 years almost. So I don't know where was he in developmental for 4 years before that, or what? I didn't understand that part.
Well, he was using Michael Cole math.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Now I get it.
That's funny. Um, I knew it was going to happen. I hated that it happened. But I thought it was a great match that in which it happened. That Raquel Gonzalez won the women's championship.
Yeah,
I mean, she's been pushed to the moon. I knew it was going to happen. I, I still think she's very, very green. Um, I, I don't know, where they're going to go from here because they're pushing her to the point where, I mean, even more so than Shayna Baszler, they're pushing her to the point where it seems like nobody can even touch her in the ring. So I
another
don't.
person is
eh,
carrying Cross. They're doing the same thing to him.
Yes. So I mean, I don't know, where they're ever going to come up with somebody that really feels believable that they're going to be able to beat her. But good for her, I guess.
Well, I mean, it took Io Shirai to become a dominant person to make her, the Shayna Baszler loss believable.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
true.
might end up just being maybe they'll whoever beats Raquel is just going to hold the belt for 3 years, just so that she becomes believable. And you look back and go, oh, okay, now I get it. Yeah,
Yeah, could be. Yeah, I don't know. I hate when they push these like invincible characters like this.
yeah,
Because
and
even
they're
because even in tag matches they've shown where like not even a tag team can stand up to her.
right. Yeah, and I mean they're doing the same thing with Karrion Cross. It's not believable that anybody's ever going to beat him.
I'm not sure about that. I mean, Cross. I mean, Balor. It looked even. I mean, it looked in some parts of this match like Balor, who's only like what 5'10" and 200 pounds or 190 pounds, whatever he is. There were parts where Cross came close to losing. There was never a point. There was never a point in the women's title match where I felt sure I was going to beat Gonzalez, even when she hit the moon over moonsault.
Okay, yeah, I guess that does make sense. And why can't Scarlet, what's her name? Scarlet Bordeaux just be a pretty sidekick? Why does she have to be this creepy dark witch?
Because that's what her character is.
Yeah, I don't like it. Just be the pretty good lady that you are. This creepy dark witch. I don't like his theme music. I don't like the fact that she's screaming it in the ring before. He even makes his entrance. Just not a fan of her character in general. Like Cross, I fucking love his character, but I'm not a big fan of hers.
No, I think in a lot of ways that she's kind of in there just because she's his girlfriend. That
No,
it really kind of feels that way to me, especially when and and I hate saying that because I really she's like a super nice person. Like I've met her, she's great. She's very appreciative of the fans. It's just that I just really feel like this is not a role that suits her.
no,
And especially like when he'll be giving a great promo and she'll just interject like in the middle of it, fall and pray. Well, great.
Yeah, or just, like the weird speaking in tongues stuff that she does
Yeah,
just out of nowhere. And
yeah, it's
yeah,
really odd. It really
I
is odd.
I liked I liked what she did.
I really enjoyed her on Impact when she did the
Yeah,
smoke show. I really
that's what I
enjoyed
was
that character there.
that's what I was just gonna say is I enjoyed the character, and the character she's best suited for was what she did on Impact.
Yep.
I was literally just gonna say that, and then but this I don't like this creepy dark witch thing at
No,
all.
no, I don't. I like the idea behind it. I just don't think that she suits that character. You know.
And it doesn't fit Karrion Cross's character either, to be honest.
Well,
I mean,
it kind of does. If you know, the problem is that, I think originally, and maybe I'm wrong because I really wasn't following NXT so strongly at the time, but it seemed to me, at least when he came out for his match against Keith Lee to when he won the championship, that she was kind of like almost like his pallbearer. Where she was like guiding him and she was like controlling him. And now it doesn't seem like that at all. So
no, no, it really doesn't. Um, but yeah, I'm glad he got the title back.
yeah, me too. That's it.
You know,
I really, and you know what? I mean, I really, I guess would have been fine with whoever won that, but it would have seemed weird if Balor was able to beat Cross. So
well, I mean, we already saw that with Tommaso Ciampa, guy who never lost the belt, never wins it again.
yeah,
So it was nice that they didn't go down that route and they let Karrion Cross win his belt back.
yeah, it was. And now there's people in line for it too. It would make sense for Balor to get a rematch. It would make sense for Kyle O'Reilly to get a match against him. It would make sense for Pete Dunne to get a match against him. So there's definitely challengers lined up.
Yeah, and it always makes sense for somebody like Cole, Adam Cole, to get a shot at him. Um, I really, really like Johnny Gargano. his, his when he first turned heel, like I mentioned it like what 2 years ago that he needs a heel turn, he needs to freshen his character up a little bit and everything. And when they first turned him heel, and he was this badass, it was not a good thing. But he's developed that heel character now into this, swarmy, whiny comedy, but not comedy guy that I really, really enjoy just his character in general. Um, and then I loved his whole. One thing I've always liked about him is he always comes out as a Marvel character.
Yeah.
This time it was Iron Man.
hmm
That's
with the W with the glowing W in the middle, that was awesome. Yeah.
yep. Yeah, I love his ring gear that he does for NXT for takeovers. That's always fun, and his just interactions with Austin Theory are priceless.
Yeah, they are. I I really do enjoy his character too. It's fun. Um, there's times I roll my eyes at him, but yeah, he always delivers too.
Yep.
That's the thing is
Yeah,
he always
and
delivers.
once he's in the ring, he's like a Daniel Bryan. It's just a guaranteed 4-star match. You're
Yes,
very rarely ever going to get anything less, especially on a takeover.
right.
Like,
And we go ahead.
everything he does doesn't matter who he's with. I think he made Bronson Reed look like a superstar.
He absolutely did. The previous takeover, I still think that his match against Kushida is in my top two matches of the year.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. That was a fantastic match as well.
Um, and we've seen like the last few weeks on Takeover these dogs running up and down the stairs, and now we're seeing this person is debuting on Tuesday. That's got to be Taya Valkyrie, right?
I would assume so. It makes sense. I kind of wish Johnny would come back or would come to NXT, um, so that first of all he gets used to his ability,
hmm
but secondly that'd be nice to have him and Taya kind of team up like they did in Impact and Lucha Underground and everything.
Yeah, I think they said it was Marty something, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Taya Valkyrie.
Right.
So
Oh yeah, I'm sure they changed her name.
yeah, no, I'm just saying that like, I think with the dogs and we see the heels and stuff, it feels like it's got to be Taya Valkyrie to me.
Oh,
So
we'll see. I guess we'll see on Tuesday now
I
because
guess we
they're
will.
moving to
Yeah.
Tuesday. And it was funny listening to Vic talking about how they're bookending WrestleMania. They kick off WrestleMania week and then they close WrestleMania week by moving to Tuesday. And it's like, wait, no, Raw on Monday closes WrestleMania. Whatever happens on Tuesday, we don't give a shit because WrestleMania season's over with.
And also SmackDown's on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
um,
I don't know. Did you watch any of WrestleMania last night? I
no,
didn't. Yeah, I
no.
didn't either. I
I, I was joking. I jokingly said to Melissa yesterday, my wife. I was like, um, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm not watching WrestleMania tonight. So
yeah, I thought about it and I'm like, I just have no interest in it.
no, no. Last night, I instead of watching WrestleMania, I watched Will Ospreay win the World Heavyweight Championship from Kota Ibushi. So that was fun.
Wait, what?
What?
What happened?
last last Sunday, they had that world title match, and I watched it last night, and Will Ospreay won the World Heavyweight Championship cleanly from Kota Ibushi.
Oh my God. I was unaware of this.
I'm surprised you were, because usually you're up on spoilers like that. So
I had no clue.
yeah, Yo and Show are the new junior heavyweight tag champions, and Will Ospreay beat Kota Ibushi for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Guess what I'm watching tonight, or as soon as we're done with this show. I honestly had no clue. I was holding off on watching that because I just had so many other things going on.
Okay,
And I
I'm
hadn't
sorry.
gotten any
I'm sorry.
spoilers or anything. So
My that's I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin it
no,
for you. I'm sorry.
it's what I wanted. I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago that I really wanted him to win that belt because he needs that with the way that they started, Empire back at Wrestle Kingdom and everything, and he's just not gotten. I haven't felt like he's really gotten his due since his heel turn.
And it's a nice touch that at both the New Japan Cup Finals, and then also in this match that the United Empire, now with now a new member, we're standing outside watching him, in these matches, but they didn't interfere whatsoever. It was
Nice.
they didn't interfere. They didn't, they didn't like, go out there and like, pull him up when he got knocked down. They didn't like, block Coda from going after him. None of that stuff. They're just standing there watching the match.
They let him win on his own
They let
merit,
him win on his own merit. Yep,
which is not
exactly.
something you see from a heel faction ever.
No, correct, correct. So it's great. It was great to see him do that, and then the aftermath after was kind of fun too, where he and you don't usually watch the aftermath, so I'm just gonna let you know what happened. Like after he, he comes out, he's like, you should have killed me at Wrestle Kingdom, because now Okada, I want you next. I want you to be my first challenger for this belt. And Okada starts coming out, and he grabs the mic. He's about to say something, and then Shingo Takagi is right behind Okada and takes the microphone away from him and says, "Wait. He says this in Japanese, but it gets translated. He's like, I beat Okada in the first round of the New Japan Cup. So if Okada gets a shot, I get a shot first." And then he looks at Okada and goes, "And then after I beat him, then you can be my first. You can be my first challenger."
Nice.
So now it's all right. So now we have the next two challengers for Osprey lined up right in a row: Shingo, and then assuming he beats Shingo again, then Okada. So
I think he's got to beat Shingo.
yeah,
I think he has to. I think he needs to hold this belt longer than Jay White did.
agreed. What that also does is it sets up Okada versus Osprey in the main event of Dominion.
So, a while back, especially after Kenny left, we were talking, pillars.
Hmm.
Okada, Tanahashi, obviously were the pillars. The two, and then Naito, and then we were trying to figure out, okay, who's the next one? And it ended up being, in our eyes, Jay White.
Hmm.
Now you got to say that Osprey is taking over Tanahashi's spot.
You do absolutely.
So I mean, right now, if you look, and I don't know if Naito is still that pillar after the last year he had. I mean, would that go to probably Coda?
Yeah, it's very interesting. And Coda, I mean, you'd have to say Coda because he's the one that unified the titles, right?
Right.
And he won two straight G1. So I mean, I don't see how you could not have Coda in that conversation.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to say Kota Ibushi, Kazuchika Okada, probably, still, even though it's been a while since he even sniffed the championship, Will Ospreay and Jay White to me.
yeah, I agree. It's got to be Osprey and Coda. taking the 2 spots of the now fading stars. Okada is still on the top of his game, and I know, like you said, Jay White hasn't even been near the title in a couple of years, but he also is still a main draw and a main reason to watch that programming.
Well, he was in the main event of night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom this year. So
Exactly.
yeah,
I mean, so he has he's still that, you know, he's still that top draw type guy, and he's still, Jesus, he's still what, only 26 or something like that.
he's still very young. Yeah, so I mean, and I think Naito is just like I mean, Naito is just that guy that's gonna he'll always be around the title, and he'll probably win the title again. But I just wouldn't say he's one of the. I think his big story happened last year at Wrestle Kingdom. You know,
When he first won the title, he finally got that 4-year story off his back.
exactly. And I think just and it's just it's kind of the same situation with Tanahashi. He's younger than Tanahashi by a little bit, but just that same kind of situation where it's those knees are not going to hold up forever for him.
No, and it just really feels like he's, after he lost the title to Dakota, he's just not he's not that guy anymore. Like, I felt like he was on fire for years, and I mean, I think you even mentioned it about how uh, before he even won the title, that it might be time for him to step back and let someone else be the leader.
Right, and if you look at it like the three guys, the three heavyweights in his organization, one of them was just in the finals of the New Japan Cup and is now being the first challenger for Will Ospreay.
Right.
One of them was in the finals of the G1. One is blocking the G1 was in the finals of the G1, and was the last challenger for only the last person ever to challenge for just the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And then of course, Evil actually beat him for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
Right.
So, or actually for the double gold, I should say. So, so I mean, really, all three of the guys he's been kind of mentoring have now, I wouldn't necessarily say have surpassed him, but are now at least close to his level. So,
Jay White sounds like a made up ring name, doesn't it?
kinda, yeah.
His real name is Jamie White.
Oh, okay.
I, because I've always thought of Jay White. It's just kind of like a made up name, but his real name is Jamie White.
Yeah,
It's kind of cool.
I think I did say that, see that before, but yeah, I mean, I think a lot of guys in New Japan use some variation of their real names, right?
Yeah, I don't think I think like even Will Ospreay, that's his real name, isn't it?
I think so. William Jeffrey Osprey or something. I'm pretty sure Zack Sabre Jr.'s real name is ZSJ. So
William Peter Charles Ospreay.
okay, you didn't react to what I just said.
Yeah, I don't listen to you when you say that.
All right.
Let me see here. Um, oh, his real name is Lucas Eatwell,
Who is this?
ZSJ.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
God, he's young too. I didn't realize he was so young.
What is he like? 28?
No, he's more like he's 33.
Okay.
But that's young when you consider I've literally been watching this guy for almost a decade.
Osprey's 27.
Yep, and Jay White's 28.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So we got two really young pillars that are probably going to be there for a very, very long time.
Absolutely.
Well, we know Jay White's at least got 5 more years on his deal.
Yeah. Yeah, Osprey. Seeing Osprey at the end of that match is it's gonna be like kind of a really cool sight for you because he's got the British World Championship on one shoulder, he's got the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on the other shoulder, and then he's got that huge New Japan Cup trophy sitting right in front of him. It's such a great vision, like
Nice,
like a vision in gold. You know what I mean?
nice.
So,
Yeah, I'm going to be watching that as soon as we get done here. Couple things I want to touch on AEW.
okay, well, before you do, let me just say that we were texting about this on Wednesday night, and I thought that promo by Jericho was just fucking flat out phenomenal.
Oh,
So
it's one of the best promos I've heard
yeah,
in years, years. He
Rhaegar, leave it.
he did such a great promo where he was able to tear down the Pinnacle with
The pineapple,
with his comedy, but not make it come across like a slapstick
right?
routine or a stand-up routine. It was such a great and that's what I when I text you about it, I'm like, yeah, Jericho being the goat. You know, because that literally was probably the best promo I've heard in years.
Yeah, it was really great. Um, yeah, I was amazed at it because you had said their faces. I'm like never, and I'm like, oh, okay, well maybe.
Yeah, after that promo and the fact that he came out and you were saying, we were talking about this last week about how they'll never be able to be faces. They were too despicable of people, but they always had that kind of little comedy thing going. So they appealed to fans. And then of course Jericho's music and just Jericho in general. Um, I figured they could pull it off, but after that promo he cut, there's no way that they weren't going to be faces.
I
No
agree.
way.
And
Uh,
I just wish that fucking Tyson hadn't shown up.
and the other thing too with the way that the inner circle has been throughout the years, being doing their little comedy sticks and all that stuff, having them just stand there, not say a word, just stand there flanking Jericho,
Hmm.
almost like they're almost like he's saying, we apologize to the fans, we apologize to the fans, we want your support and all this stuff. And the way that they just stood there, not making light of everything, not making it a comedy act or a comedy routine, kind of led to that point too, where it's like, this is a different inner circle. They want to respect you. They don't want to be what they've been.
Right.
So I think even just the fact that those four guys just stood behind him and didn't do anything, just stood there, was part of what really got them over as a face faction too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like I said, they still did their middle finger symbol, and so they're not changing up 100% completely.
No,
There's still the inner circle, but maybe an inner circle that you can respect now instead of just hate.
right.
And like you
I,
said, like a lot of the fans weren't hating them anyway. But and I they but you know how much my feelings for them have just changed over the last 6 months. Like, God, I'm tired of these guys.
yeah,
Because it was
yeah,
so much melodrama. Um, and like I said, I mean, I I understand. I do, inherently understand the need for a professional wrestling organization, especially one that has only been around for a couple of years, to reach out and get some mainstream exposure. Have some mainstream multimedia stars on their show to kind of draw in the viewers. But I just don't understand why they have to go with these old, tired acts that have not been relevant for 20 years. Why does that have to be guys like Shaq? Why does that have to be guys like Mike Tyson? Mike Tyson, can't they get somebody like really relevant to come onto their damn shows? Because seeing Mike Tyson like in the caption for watching um, Dynamite kind of just made me not even want to watch it because I did not want to see Mike Tyson on that show.
but if they're going to bring him out there, have him cut a promo. I mean, you're advertising that Mike Tyson's here. Mike Tyson's here. Mike Tyson's here through the whole show,
You want to hear
and
that
he
squeaky feminine voice talk?
not really, but I don't want them to promote some guy as being there, and then just have him come out and punch Sean Spears in the stomach 30 times and shake Jericho's hand, and that's it.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to promote this guy as being here and being like Snoop was perfect. Snoop came out,
Snoop is never perfect.
but I'm just saying the way that they promoted Snoop, or he's going to be here, and yeah, he was on commentary. He seconded Cody to the ring. Yes, he got involved with one of the worst splashes in the history of wrestling, but he at least was more relevant than just running in, doing a spot, and leaving.
That is very true. He's still another example of a guy that was relevant 20 years ago.
Yeah, but the problem with Snoop is he's always relevant.
Not
he,
to me.
plus, they had that new show, that game show that they were promoting and everything. Shaq, as far as a basketball guy goes, he's still one of the faces of the NBA with his commentary. Plus the Papa Johns. He bought into Papa John's.
You know what I'm trying to say, Jeff.
No, I get it. I definitely get it. I just wish that if they were to do stuff like that with celebrities, they at least have them be a little more relevant than. I mean, granted, it was nice to see Sean Spears get punched a million times.
Oh my God, Lashley kept the title last night against McIntyre.
Well, I guess I'm not watching WrestleMania. That was really the only, and that's another thing too about WrestleMania too. This whole story about Edge getting, his belt back that he never lost, and winning. Why did it have to become a triple threat match?
I don't know.
Is it to make, if they do decide to pull it off Reigns and put it on Edge, to make it more believable? I mean, Edge was already believable.
I think it was because people just weren't just interested in Edge versus Reigns.
Possibly, I guess. Yeah, it's possible. But yeah, I really
Cesaro pinned Seth Rollins. Sorry.
interesting choice. Definitely an interesting choice there.
Styles and almost defeated the New Day to win the tag team titles.
Oh, good. I think that's the one title that Styles didn't hold, isn't it? Does that make him a Grand Slam champion now?
I think it may. I think it might have. Bad
Because I,
Bunny and the Priest beat Bad Bunny was the winning team against Miz and John Morrison. So of course, everything's right with World in that one.
why is Damian Priest teaming up with Bad Bunny?
I don't know.
Why is Bad Bunny still a thing?
I don't know.
Did he
And
rap with Booker T standing in the background again?
and Bianca Belair defeated Sasha Banks to win the women's championship.
Yeah, I kind of see that one coming a mile away.
This says it was an A+ match.
Really?
So
Hmm.
that might be when I go back and watch.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
it was actually the main event of WrestleMania Night 1.
Oh,
So
okay. So yeah, that at least I can fast forward to it
exactly.
because I definitely don't want to see Bobby Lash winning anything.
Yeah, I thought it was really dumb. I thought it was really weird that he won the title, and then for him to beat McIntyre to hold on the title, I think is even more weird. So, but whatever.
Well,
You
they
know,
I for some reason I heard they broke up the Hurt business too,
they did.
which is ridiculous. That was the best thing about their TV over the last year. Whenever I read any kind of reviews, that was always the thing that got praised.
Yeah, I don't know, man. What was that stable that Lashley had in Impact and TNA?
God, I don't remember.
That was a great stable too.
I wasn't watching when he was there.
No, you were. 'Cause it was him and Kenny King and or you really didn't watch that? Like him and Kenny King and
I watched some
those
Kenny
guys.
King. I kind of watched one-off stuff, mainly Kenny King because he was just an amazing character when he was in Impact before he
Oh,
went back to Ring of Honor. Um, and I watched, that was when Mike Bennett was there.
okay.
So I watched a few things, one-off stuff usually, but it also wasn't. I didn't have network TV, and they didn't show Impact anywhere ever.
Oh, okay. So you never saw the Beatdown Clan then?
No, nope,
Okay.
never saw them.
All right. Yeah, it was MVP, Kenny King, Lashley, um, and then Homicide, and then at times other people were part of it, like Samoa Joe, Low-Ki, Eric Young, and Hernandez. So
The last time I really remember watching Lashley in Impact was when Hogan came in. Hogan and Bischoff came in, and his wife went in and quit on his behalf. And then they left the company, and he went on to be an MMA guy.
gotcha.
That's the last time I really remember Lashley being an Impact.
Okay.
I know he had a hell of a run though, with the world title and everything.
Yeah, he did. So all right. Well, I'm 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 sorry. I just thought I would check to see what the WrestleMania results were. So
uh,
I
I
didn't,
guess
even though I didn't want to watch them, it's still, even though I'm not really a big WWE guy anymore, just I still kind of like care about WrestleMania.
I still care about in general because, like I said, I've said it before. There are still some characters there that I really, really like. Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Edge being back. They've got a lot of characters there that I enjoy and have always been favorites of mine. So I kind of keep one eye halfway turned to them just to see what's going on.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, as far as the product goes, I don't like their presentations. I don't like the way that they're force feeding us another Bray Wyatt Randy Orton WrestleMania match. And after the maggots appearing on the ring, I don't know that I want to watch that
Well,
ever
I don't
again.
ever want to watch another Randy Orton match, period. So
Seeing Randy Orton to me is still one of the best ever.
I know he is, but I keep telling you, I cannot stand, he's just been there too long, you know.
Yeah, and he's been there too long without a character change. I mean, he turns heel and then he's just a different variation of the same character he is when he's face. Like a slight variation. The only difference is that he's now heel.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
guys like Orton, guys like the New Day. I mean, those to me are like prime examples. And of course, John Cena before he retired, but like those are like prime examples of guys that really could have benefited from
character changes.
from the territory days, like moving to a new territory, facing somebody else, and then eventually coming back around to this territory. You know.
And the thing with Orton is he's been at the top for so long that it kind of like Cena, we're running the same character for so long that there's no fresh matchups with him anymore.
No, there's not.
Like you're not getting okay, now he's back in a feud with Bray Wyatt. We saw this 3 years ago. What's the next feud he's going to have? Is it going to be with Daniel Bryan, and he's going to be a minus player instead of a B plus player?
Right.
It just seems like he's stuck in with only a handful of people that he can really work with. But that part of that's on the WWE too, is they really have a hard time developing new stars. They spend so much time on their proven trope that they don't really go out and establish new stars. Like NXT has been great at it. Every few months, you've got a new guy who seems like a big deal. Now it's Bronson Reed's turn.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're right. Probably that is a big part of it as well. I mean, because I don't get tired of, like AJ Styles, for instance, but at the same time, I don't know, but maybe it's because maybe it's just guys that have been like have held us titles 13, 14, 15 times. It just gets really old really fast.
Well, I mean, but if you look at AJ Styles, look at how much he's been there since what 2000 was it 16
Yeah.
when he debuted, and since he's been there, he came in as that generic baby face. He made his heel turn. When he made his heel turn, he went all in on his heel turn. And then he, kind of transitioned that to being a back to being a baby face with his feud with Shane, but kept that edgier heel vibe, but he was a babyface.
Hmm.
And then he kind of turned heel, joined up with the OC, um, and had that little character change, and then he kind of went off on his own, was back to being that babyface that everyone loved. Now he's changed up his character immensely in just the short time he's been there. It changes, and when he does do his heel turn, he is a different character,
Yeah.
where Randy is the same character whether he's face or heel. Cena was just always the permaface. Um, so it's hard to get sick of a guy like AJ because AJ does change up his character.
And the New Day, most they've changed up their characters, other than Kofi's run as a champion. Let's be fair. Was switching from pancakes to cereal and back again.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now their new character development is that they've got a trombone.
Right.
And we're gonna have that trombone in every match for 3 years.
Yeah.
It was a funny one-off thing, but nope, we're gonna make that part of their shtick now.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I mean, you're right. I mean, that's mostly what it is. Is like if they keep that character stuck in a rut, then I just get so bloody sick of them. You
The
know.
thing about the thing about Randy Orton is when he is on and he's invested in whatever program he's in, it's an A+ program all the way through. Promos, matches, everything. But when he's not fully invested in it, it's utter dog shit. Because it's just his you can just feel it in him. Like I never really felt like he bought into that whole authority thing when he was feuding with Daniel Bryan. I just never felt like he bought into that. And you could tell by his promo work, his ring work. But then he got into a feud with I can't remember who it was afterwards that was just insanely great.
And another way, way that I can certainly acknowledge what you're saying is that is that it just depends on Orton's character work, and then also on just him changing his character. Was I know like what when I was watching that promo with I saw some kind of promo between him and um Bray Wyatt. What's his character called? The Fiend?
The
Yeah, the
Fiend,
Fiend. And then God, and then the God, why can't I think of her name? Alexa
Alexa
Bliss.
Bliss.
Alexa Bliss. Yeah, like all together. I'm like, how amazing would it be if Alexa Bliss was with Randy Orton? How much would that influence both those characters to be like something even more like evil and bizarre, and so I mean I think that's something I really would enjoy seeing is him changing in that way where for the first time ever he's got this psycho female valet with him.
And when you think about it, he even joined the Wyatt family at one point and didn't change his character at all.
No, he didn't.
He still wore the vest. Like even when Daniel Bryan joined the Wyatt family, he was in overalls.
Right.
Randy Orton joined the Wyatt family and nothing about him changed.
That's
He was
exactly right.
just he was just a member of the Wyatt family now.
Yep. All right. I gotta get going. So anything else
Yeah,
you
I've
want to
got
cover this
nothing.
week?
Not really.
Okay.
The main things was Takeover and then of course the Inner Circle stuff.
Right.
Um, I'm looking forward to that Blood and Guts match,
Oh,
especially.
and then of course the reformation of Bullet Club maybe at the end of that show again.
Yeah, I, I'm getting a little just fed up with that whole thing too. It's like, and they felt so like, oh my God, I can't believe we just did that. And when they turned on Moxley, they were all despondent and everything, but they were doing it to protect their friend. But then 5 minutes later, they're just vicious beating them down.
Yeah.
It just it. I love Matt and Nick Jackson, but that was kind of a weird little character development that happened over a matter of seconds.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I just wanted to bring it up really quickly. So anyway, next week we'll cover I guess whatever's coming up in wrestling this coming week.
Well,
Oh,
I don't.
we do have a tag team title match coming up on Dynamite, right? We've got yeah, we do. And then the Young Bucks are defending against Death Triangle.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah. So
okay, yeah. So that's this week. All right, and then yeah, okay. So that's
and
probably what we'll discuss.
yeah, and then we'll discuss if really was Taya Valkyrie debuting and how her debut was on Tuesday night.
Right,
So
exactly. And it'll be nice to be able to watch them both live, not having to record one.
yeah, that would be nice. All right.
So,
That's
all
all
right.
we that's all we got. We'll try to better or is there plugs you need to hit?
No, just say if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to like it, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Moving a lot of our stuff from Patreon is going to be appearing on here on this YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe so you get notifications when you can listen to um, some of those shows that we did, especially like the Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero Deserted Island series that we did.
Absolutely. All right, that's all we got. We'll try to do better next time. This is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights, and Jeff saying
Goodbye.